This is Earl Nightingale, speaking to you from a quiet studio, where the truths of life glow like embers in a hearth, casting light into the shadows of a world half asleep, calling to those who wander, who seek, who yearn to break free from the unseen chains that bind their souls. Before we embark on this journey, a journey that may unveil the trap you've lived within, that may light a spark in the darkness of your routine, that may guide you to the freedom of a mind reclaimed, I extend a solemn invitation to join our fellowship of awakeners. These are the souls who question the paths laid before them, who burn with the fire of awareness, who refuse to drift through life in a prison they cannot see. If this message stirs your heart, if it kindles a light in the quiet of your mind, I urge you to share it by subscribing to this program. Write to us, share your thoughts in our great conversation, and let us know you stand with us by leaving your mark of approval. Your voice strengthens this circle, and together we can forge a brotherhood of those who see the trap, who speak the truth, who live the freedom. Now, settle in, for we speak of a truth so profound, so piercing. It has been feared by those who would keep you bound, who would dim your fire, who would let you live a life that is not your own. Most people, my friends, will never escape this trap, for they do not see it, and what they do not see, they cannot change. This is the truth that can set you free, the whisper that becomes thunder, the key that unlocks the prison of your mind. Will you hear it? Will you heed it? Will you become it? The choice is yours, and the moment is now. Let's begin. There are truths, my friends, so ancient they seem carved into the bones of the earth, so radiant they pierce the veil of centuries, so profound they awaken the soul from its deepest slumber. One such truth is this: most people live in a trap they cannot see, a prison woven not of iron, but of thoughts that are not their own. Their lives are not their own, for their minds are not their own, shaped by voices they never questioned, bound by beliefs they never chose, led by paths they never drew. This truth began as a whisper, barely audible, passed from philosopher to sailor, from sage to shepherd, from the quiet chambers of thinkers to the bustling harbors of ancient seas, until it grew, swelling like a tide, resounding like a bell, until it became thunder, shaking the hearts of those who heard it, lifting them from the shadows of a life unchosen to the light of a destiny they forged. Picture a village, its streets winding beneath a twilight sky, its people moving in rhythm with the toll of a clock tower, their days measured by tasks they did not choose, their dreams dimmed by thoughts they did not question. Into this village comes a wanderer, his eyes alight with a fire that burns through the fog, his voice carrying a phrase that stirs the air like a wind before a storm. He speaks of the mind, of its power to shape life, of the trap that binds men not with chains, but with thoughts, thoughts planted by others, thoughts that keep them asleep, thoughts that keep them bound. The villagers listen, their hearts quickening, their eyes lifting from the ground to the stars, but the keepers of order grow uneasy. These words, they declare, are too bold, too dangerous, too bright. They threaten the rhythm of the village, the predictability of its harvest, the silence of its routine. And so, they hush the wanderer. They warn the people to forget his words, to return to their plows, their looms, their ledgers, to let the clock tower dictate their days, to let the fog of the trap settle over their souls. But truth, my friends, is not so easily silenced. It is like a fire that, once kindled, cannot be extinguished, like a river that, once loosed, cannot be dammed, like a star that, once risen, cannot be hidden, like a seed that, once planted, cannot be uprooted. The wanderer's words spread, whispered in the glow of hearths, shared in the quiet of fields, carried on the winds that sweep across oceans and plains, etched into the hearts of those who dare to listen. They reached the farmer, his hands deep in the earth, his heart stirred by the possibility of planting not just crops, but freedom, of sowing thoughts that break the trap. They reached the craftsman, his workshop alive with the scent of wood, his soul awakened to the vision of shaping not just objects, but a life of purpose. They reached the poet, her pen poised above a blank page, her mind ignited by the call to write verses that shatter the chains of unchosen thoughts. They reached the merchant, his shop a hub of trade, his heart stirred by the dream of building not just wealth, but harmony, a bridge to distant lands. They reached the sailor, his ship tethered to the harbor, his heart awakened to the possibility of charting not just seas, but his own destiny. They reached the shepherd, his flock grazing beneath the stars, his soul stirred by the vision of guiding not just sheep, but his own life. These words, once a whisper, became thunder, a resounding call that pierced the fog of the trap, that shattered the chains of conformity, that lit a fire in the souls of those who heard them. I shared a fragment of this truth years ago in a message called The Strangest Secret, when I said, we become what we think about most of the time, and that's the strangest secret. These words, so simple yet so profound, are the key that unlocks the trap, the spark that ignites the fire of awareness, the seed that grows into a garden of freedom. They are the thunder that can awaken you, if you will hear them, if you will speak them, if you will live them. And so, I ask you, listener, do you hear that whisper in the quiet of your heart? Do you feel its gentle nudge, its persistent call, its promise of escape? Will you let it pass like a breeze through the trees? Or will you let it become thunder, shaking the foundations of your life, lighting a fire that no force can extinguish? What is the trap, my friends, that holds most men captive, that dims their dreams, that binds their souls to a life not their own? It is not a cage of iron, nor a chain of steel, nor a wall of stone. It is a prison of the mind, built of thoughts planted long ago, thoughts that grew like weeds in dark soil, thoughts that were never yours, yet shape your every step. This trap begins with a forgotten seed, the seed of awareness, planted deep within your soul at birth, waiting to be watered with courage, nourished with truth, lit with faith, tended with purpose. Yet how forgotten, how neglected, how buried deep this seed lies. Beneath the weight of routine, it waits, smothered by the fog of conformity, dimmed by the fear of change, hidden by the dust of habit. Picture a man, his days spent in a gray village, his hands busy with tasks he does not question, his heart heavy with a longing he cannot name. He believes his life is his own, yet his thoughts are echoes, echoes of schoolmasters who taught him to obey, of merchants who sold him dreams of comfort, of voices that told him to stay small, to keep his fire unlit, to walk the path of others. He lives his life never realizing he is in a trap, never seeing that the walls are beliefs, never grasping that the door is unlocked, never planting the seed of awareness that could set him free. This seed, my friends, is the treasure you already hold, the key to a life of freedom, the spark that can light the fire of your soul, the root that can grow into a garden of greatness. It is not found in distant lands, nor in the ledgers of merchants, nor in the charts of sailors. It is in your mind, in your ability to see the blindfold, to question the echoes, to choose your thoughts, to tend the soil of your beliefs. Picture the shepherd, his flock grazing beneath a starlit sky, his heart once heavy with the weight of routine, believing his life must follow the paths of his fathers, never questioning the thoughts he carries, never seeing the blindfold of habit. He guides without vision, watches without joy, and wonders why his days feel like chains, why his soul remains barren, why his life feels like a fog he cannot pierce. Picture the seamstress, her fingers swift with the needle, her dreams buried beneath the weight of duty, believing her work must be humble, never questioning the pattern she follows, never seeing the blindfold of conformity. She stitches without passion and wonders why her garments lack beauty, why her heart aches for more, why her soul remains a spark unlit. Picture the merchant, his shop bustling, yet his spirit restless, believing his success must be measured by others, never questioning the ledger of their dreams, never seeing the blindfold of comparison. He trades without purpose and wonders why his wealth feels hollow, why his heart grows cold, why his life feels like a trap he cannot name. The seed of awareness is within you, my friends, not in the world beyond. It is the courage to see the blindfold, the will to remove it, the faith to choose your thoughts, the purpose to tend the garden of your mind. Yet how forgotten this seed remains, buried beneath the dust of a trapped life, smothered by the voices that tell you to conform, to obey, to drift. The world would have you believe that awareness is dangerous, that to question is folly, that to awaken is to risk the comfort of sleep. But I tell you now, the wise know this truth. To live without awareness is to live in a trap, to walk with a blindfold, to drift in a fog you did not choose, to leave the seed of your soul unplanted. Picture the sailor, his ship tethered to the harbor, his heart yearning for uncharted seas, who does not seek freedom in the horizon, but in the courage to steer his own course, planting seeds of awareness that bloom into a life of discovery. Picture the poet, her chamber lit by a single candle, her heart alive with verses unvoiced, who does not seek beauty in the applause of others, but in the quiet of her own truth, planting seeds of awareness that grow into lines that awaken the world. Picture the farmer, his fields alive with possibility, who does not seek abundance in the fields of others, but in the soil of his own mind, planting seeds of awareness that bloom into a garden of riches. The seed is in the shepherd's courage to question his path, in the seamstress's will to weave her dreams, in the merchant's faith to think beyond his ledger, in your power to awaken, to choose, to live. And so, I ask you, listener, do you feel that seed within you? Do you sense its quiet presence, its gentle pulse, its promise of freedom? Will you nurture it, water it with courage, light it with truth, or will you let it lie dormant, buried beneath the weight of a trapped life? Will you remove the blindfold, or will you remain in the fog, caught in a trap you cannot see? This truth, this seed of awareness, is not new, my friends, nor is it hidden. It is as old as the mountains, as timeless as the tides, as eternal as the stars that guide the sailor's way, as enduring as the fire that burns in the forge of the heart, as steadfast as the roots that anchor a garden, as boundless as the river that seeks the sea. The wise of every age knew it, lived it, built their lives upon it, leaving legacies that stand like the pillars of ancient temples, like the verses of poets, like the ships that crossed uncharted waters, like the fields that fed nations. The Stoics of Greece, men like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, understood that the mind is not a mirror, but a forge, that your dominant thought becomes your life, that to think is to create, to choose is to shape, to dream is to build. They knew that most men drift, caught in a trap of unchosen thoughts, but the wise steer, their minds the helm of their destiny, their thoughts the stars by which they sail. Their wisdom was not mere philosophy. It was a fire that burned through centuries, a constellation that guided souls through the fog of existence, a garden that bloomed through time. The craftsmen of old, their hands skilled in the quiet trades of wood and iron, knew that their work was not merely labor, but thought that shaped tools, that built homes, that forged futures. They thought not just of the task before them, but of what their labor could become, and their creations became a testament to the power of the mind, a fire that burned through generations. The empire builders, from the architects of Babylon to the captains of Rome, knew that their greatness began not with stone or steel, but with thought, with the courage to envision a world beyond the horizon, with the faith to plant seeds that would bloom for ages. They thought not just of conquest, but of creation, and their cities became a garden of human will, a foundation for history, a river of achievement that flowed through time. Consider the poet, her chamber lit by a single candle, her heart alive with beauty unvoiced, who knew that her verses were not mere words, but seeds, seeds that could awaken the soul, that could light a fire in the hearts of those who read them, that could forge a legacy eternal. She thought not just of writing, but of eternity, and her lines became a constellation, a map for souls lost in the trap of unchosen thoughts. Picture the blacksmith, his forge a sanctuary of heat and iron, his hands steady as he shaped tools that would serve his village. He knew that his work was not merely metal, but thought, that each strike of his hammer was a choice, that each tool was a victory over the trap, a seed planted in the garden of his soul. Picture the sailor, his ship a vessel of dreams, his heart alive with the call of the sea. He knew that his course was not merely a path through water, but a journey of the mind, a steering by inner constellations, a choice to think beyond the harbor. He thought not just of ports, but of destinies, and his voyages became a river, a testament to the power of thought, a fire that burned through the ages. As I said in The Strangest Secret, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. The wise knew this, my friends. They knew that their thoughts were the hammer, the helm, the seed, the fire, the lever that could lift them from the trap to freedom, from mediocrity to mastery, from the fog of conformity to the light of purpose. They knew that to think is to create, to dream is to build, to envision is to become, to sow is to reap, to steer is to triumph. This truth was not reserved for the mighty, nor hidden from the humble. It was known to the farmer who thought of abundant harvests and worked to make them real, planting a garden that fed the world. It was known to the seamstress who thought of beauty and crafted garments that clothed the heart with hope, forging a fire that burned through time. It was known to the shepherd who thought of guidance and led his flock to safety, steering by the stars of his own mind. It was known to the merchant who thought of harmony and built a trade that spanned continents, sowing a seed that bloomed for generations. The wise were not different from you, my friends. They were simply awake, their minds alive with thoughts of what could be, their hearts bold with the fire of purpose, their hands forging a life of meaning. They spoke the truth, they lived the truth, they sowed the seeds, they kindled the fires, they steered by their own stars, and they reaped the riches of a life well lived. And so, I ask you, listener, will you join them? Will you think as they thought, dream as they dreamed, act as they acted, sow as they sowed, steer as they steered? If this message has stirred your soul, if it has awakened the visionary within you, join our fellowship. Write to us, share your thoughts, and let us know you're with us by leaving your mark of approval. Let us stand together, as those who know the truth, as those who speak the words, as those who live the freedom, as those who forge the fire. Will you let the wisdom of the ages pass you by, or will you claim it as your own, planting the seed, lighting the fire, steering by your own stars? Will you think like the wise, or will you drift with the many, caught in a trap you cannot see? Why, then, do so few awaken to this truth, while so many remain asleep, not living but drifting, not creating but echoing, not forging their own destinies, but wandering in a trap they cannot name? The answer lies in the systems of comfort that lull the world to sleep, the gentle chains that bind the soul to the rhythm of sameness, the fog that dims the fire of awareness, the voices that echo yesterday's lies. Picture a vast meadow, shrouded in twilight, where men and women wander, their eyes open but their souls asleep, moving in circles like herded cattle. Their thoughts pass from mouth to mouth like a song no one wrote, their hearts dim with a longing they cannot name, their fires unlit, their gardens unplanted. This is the sleep of the many, my friends, a sleep induced by the systems that surround us, by the repetitive routines that dull the mind, by the gray offices that reward silence, by the education that teaches conformity, not vision, by the lives built not by design, but by default. The schoolhouse, with its chalkboards and rigid rows, teaches you to repeat, to obey, to follow, not to question, not to dream, not to light the fire in your soul. It fills your mind with the thoughts of others, with the echoes of others, with the chains of others, leaving your own garden barren, your own fire unlit. The gray offices, with their endless tasks and silent desks, demand your time, not your heart, rewarding those who drift without question, chaining your spirit to the hum of routine, locking your soul in a prison of sameness, a garden where no dreams grow. The village, with its quiet hearths and familiar paths, expects you to conform, to repeat, to stay small, to let your dreams fade like stars at dawn, to let your fire dim, to let your garden wither. Consider the farmer, taught to plow the same fields as his fathers, to sow the same seeds, to avoid the risks of change, to keep his fire hidden. The village depends on his harvest, and so he is told to stay predictable, to silence his visions, to let his garden grow weeds, to leave his fire unlit. He plows without question, reaps without passion, and drifts through life, his heart heavy with unspoken longing, his mind dulled by the clock tower's tick, his soul a spark unlit, a seed unplanted. Consider the seamstress, urged to sew only what is needed, simple garments for the village, never the works of beauty that burn in her heart, never the fire that could light the world. The village needs her labor, and so she is kept in place, her needle stitching in rhythm with routine, her creations fading like the thread she uses, her spirit confined to the gray silence of duty, her fire extinguished, her garden barren. Consider the shepherd, taught to guide his flock along the same paths, to follow the same stars, to suppress his dreams of new pastures, to let his fire smolder. The village needs his sheep, and so he is bound, his staff moving in patterns not his own, his heart a river uncharted, his life a garden unplanted. These systems, my friends, are like a fog, soft yet unyielding, keeping you safe from risk but also from freedom, keeping you asleep while your dreams fade, while your fire dies, while your garden remains barren, your river uncharted. They lull you with the promise of comfort, of safety, of ease. But comfort is the enemy of awareness, the thief of purpose, the chain that binds your soul to a trap you cannot see. These systems fear the awakened mind, my friends, for a man or woman who awakens is a force unstoppable, a flame unquenchable, a tide uncontainable, a star undeniable, a river unyielding, a garden unbreakable. They fear a farmer who questions his fields, who might plant a garden that feeds not just his village, but his soul, who might kindle a fire that spreads. They fear a seamstress who dreams of beauty, who might create garments that inspire others to awaken, who might forge a fire that burns through time. They fear a shepherd who dreams of new pastures, who might guide not just sheep, but souls, who might plant a garden that blooms for centuries. An awakened man or woman questions the schoolhouse, challenges the gray offices, rewrites the village's rules, lights a fire that spreads, plants a garden that endures. This is why most remain asleep, my friends, because waking hurts. It is painful to see the blindfold, to feel the chains, to hear the echoes of a trapped mind, to step into the unknown, to plant a seed in untested soil, to forge a new path, to kindle a new fire. The world would have you believe that sleep is safety, that to drift is peace, that the trap is home. But I tell you, as I said in Lead the Field, most people tiptoe through life, hoping to make it safely to death. Sleep is a trap, my friends, a fog where your dreams go to die, a chain that binds your soul, a garden that remains barren, a fire that remains unlit, a river that never finds its sea. The wise know this, and they choose to awaken, to think, to dream, to sow, to forge, to live. And so, I ask you, listener, will you remain asleep, or will you awaken? Will you feel the fire of this truth within you, or will you let it fade into the fog? If this message has stirred your heart, if it has awakened the rebel within you, join our fellowship. Write to us, share your thoughts, and let us know you're with us by leaving your mark of approval. Let us stand together as those who refuse to drift, as those who speak the truth, as those who live the freedom, as those who kindle the fire. Will you let the fog lull you to sleep, or will you awaken to the truth, planting your garden, lighting your fire, steering by your own stars? And now, my friends, we come to the heart of this truth, the seed that awakens, the key that unlocks, the fire that burns away the fog, the helm that steers you from the trap to freedom. It is this: you become what you think about most of the time. Speak these words, my friends, and let them take root in your soul. Write them down, as you would a sacred vow, in the quiet of your chamber, by the light of a candle, on a page that will become the map of your life. Repeat them each dawn, each dusk, until they echo in your mind like the chime of a bell, until they guide your thoughts like a constellation, until they light your path like a fire, until they forge your destiny like a hammer on an anvil. These are not mere words, my friends. They are a law, a principle, a truth as eternal as the tides, as unyielding as the forge, as radiant as the star, as enduring as the garden, as boundless as the river. They are the key to reclaiming your mind, to escaping the trap, to planting the seeds of freedom, to forging a life that is yours. Plant these words in the fertile soil of your mind. Water them with faith. Nurture them with action. Light them with courage. Forge them with purpose. And watch as your life transforms into a garden of abundance, a fortress of achievement, a river of purpose, a fire that no darkness can extinguish. Picture the baker, his shop a haven of warmth, his hands dusted with flour, his days once a cycle of routine, his heart once heavy with the weight of the trap. He hears this truth, perhaps from a broadcast like this, and he writes it down. You become what you think about most of the time. It stirs him, like a wind lifting a seed, like a spark in dry tinder. He begins to think, not of baking bread, but of mastery, of a craft that feeds the soul of his village, of a legacy that warms hearts through generations. Each day he repeats the words. Each loaf he bakes with care, each moment he invests in his vision. And in time, his shop becomes a beacon, his bread a testament to nourishment, his name a whisper in every home, his life a garden that blooms with abundance, a fire kindled by the power of his thoughts. Picture the blacksmith, his forge once silent, his hands once idle, his heart once dim with the shadow of the trap. He hears these words from a fellow craftsman, and they resonate, like the toll of a bell, like starlight breaking through the fog. He writes them down, he repeats them, and he begins to think, not of simple tools, but of mastery, of creations that inspire, of a legacy that endures. Each strike he makes, each tool he shapes, becomes a step toward greatness, and his forge becomes a sanctuary, his work a fire that burns through time, his life a forge that no trap can dim. Picture the seamstress, her needle flashing in the candlelight, her dreams once silenced by routine, her heart once a quiet chamber of longing. She hears these words from a kind neighbor, and they ignite her, like a hammer striking an anvil, like a tide turning. She writes them down, she repeats them, and she begins to think, not of simple garments, but of beauty, of creating clothing that clothes the heart with hope, of a legacy that shines through time. Her shop becomes a sanctuary, her work a fire that no darkness can extinguish, her life a garden that blooms with grace. Picture the shepherd, his flock grazing beneath the stars, his heart once heavy with the weight of unchosen paths, his life once a cycle of sameness. He hears these words by a campfire, and they awaken him, like a spark in dry grass, like a river breaking through stone. He writes them down, he repeats them, and he begins to think, not of safe pastures, but of new horizons, of guiding not just sheep, but his own destiny, of a legacy that leads others to freedom. His paths become a testament, his life a constellation, his legacy a fire that no storm can extinguish. Picture the merchant, his shop once a place of routine, his heart once restless with the pursuit of profit, his life once a shadow of the trap. He hears these words from a passing trader, and they stir him, like a star guiding his course, like a flame lighting his path. He writes them down, he repeats them, and he begins to think, not of gold, but of harmony, of trade that unites hearts, of a legacy that brings peace. His markets become a bridge, his life a river of purpose, his legacy a fire that burns through time. These stories, my friends, are the lives of those who heard these words, who spoke them, who lived them, who sowed them, who forged them. They are the men and women who awoke, who reclaimed their minds, who escaped the trap, who planted the garden, who kindled the fire, who steered by their own stars. Speak these words, my friends, and let them be your guide. Let them be the helm that steers your thoughts, for your thoughts are your freedom. Your thoughts sow your garden, your thoughts kindle your fire, your thoughts forge your destiny, your thoughts guide your river to the sea. As I said in The Strangest Secret, the architect of the universe didn't build a stairway leading nowhere. Think of what you desire, not what you fear. Picture your life as vividly as a blacksmith sees his forge, as clearly as a sailor sees the stars, as boldly as a farmer sees his fields, as brightly as a fire burns in the night, as enduringly as a garden blooms through seasons, as firmly as a river flows to the sea. And let that vision guide your every step, every action. Begin now with one thought, however small. The farmer does not plant his field in a day. He sows one seed, then another. The seamstress does not weave a masterpiece in one night. She stitches one seam, then another. The shepherd does not chart new pastures in an hour. He takes one step, then another. The merchant does not build a bridge in a moment. He makes one trade, then another. Your thoughts are the seeds, your actions the water, your faith the sunlight, your courage the hammer, your vision the fire, your purpose the garden, your will the river. Speak the words, live the truth, sow the seed, kindle the fire, forge the path, follow the river, and the freedom will follow. And so, I ask you, listener, will you speak these words that awaken your mind? Will you let them reclaim your soul? Or will you let them fade like a whisper in the fog? If this truth has stirred your heart, join our fellowship. Write to us, share your thoughts, and let us know you're with us by leaving your mark of approval. Let us stand together, as those who refuse to be trapped, as those who kindle the fire, as those who live the freedom, as those who forge the future. Will you choose now to wake up, to reclaim your mind, to plant your garden, or will you drift, asleep in the fog of the trap? And now, my friend, we come to you, you who listen in the stillness of your heart, you who sit alone in your small apartment, a night owl surrounded by the quiet of your dreams, a dreamer at the crossroads of your life, poised between the fog of the trap and the fire of freedom, between the chains of unchosen thoughts and the river of purpose, between the gray silence of a life not your own and the thunder of a destiny you forge. I speak to you now, as if this were my final broadcast, as if these were the last words I might ever share, as if you stood at the threshold of eternity, ready to choose the life you will live, the legacy you will leave, the fire you will kindle, the garden you will plant, the river you will follow. You are not a shadow, not a cog, not a seed doomed to wither, not a soul destined to wander in the fog of a trap you cannot see, not a life condemned to echo the thoughts of others. You are a creator, a dreamer, a blacksmith, a gardener, a sailor, a poet, a shepherd, a force with the power to forge your destiny, to plant your garden, to kindle your fire, to steer your ship, to write your truth, to guide your flock, to follow your river to the stars. The truth you've heard today is yours to speak, to live, to sow, to forge, to make in a thunder, a flame that no darkness can extinguish, a garden that no storm can uproot, a river that no dam can stop, a constellation that no fog can hide. Do not let this truth slip away, my friend, like a whisper lost in the wind, like a spark that fades in the night, like a tide that ebbs back, like a seed that lies unsown, like a flame that lies unlit, like a river that never finds its sea. Speak it now, with courage, with faith, with the fire of your soul, with the light of your truth, with the power of your will, with the strength of your purpose, with the glow of your dreams. Plant the seed of your vision, kindle the forge of your mind, steer the ship of your thoughts, forge the tools of your destiny, guide the flock of your dreams, follow the river of your life, and let the world marvel at what you become. Your life is a forge, not a chain, a garden, not a weed, a river, not a prison, a fire, not a flicker, a constellation, not a shadow. Will you strike the spark now, or will you let it lie dormant? Will you plant the seed, or will you let the soil remain barren? Will you follow the river, or will you drift in the fog? This is Earl Nightingale, bidding you not farewell, but a new dawn, a new beginning, a new life of awakening. If this message has stirred your heart, if it has awakened the creator, the dreamer, the gardener within you, join our fellowship. Write to us, share your thoughts, and let us know you're with us by leaving your mark of approval. Together, let us speak the truth that breaks the trap. Let us live the freedom that awakens the soul. Let us sow the seeds that grow the garden. Let us kindle the fires that light the path. Let us follow the rivers that lead to the stars. The choice is yours, my friend, and the moment is now. The mind is not a mirror. It is a forge, and tonight you may strike the first spark.